At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Hogville Net YouTube. I am Ty Hudson. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. Do appreciate you guys. We're trying to do these pregame shows every Thursday, 11 o'clock, and then, of course, we do the postgame shows. Alongside me today, the man, the myth, the legend, Otis, Kirk. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, Ty. Hey, I like your cap, man. That's a nice cap. Yeah, I like that. I'm a Rams fan too, and so yeah, I like that. Of course, all I got is Lakers stuff here, but no, I like that cap. No, I'm getting better every day. I had a little bit of a setback Tuesday. I was lightheaded all day Tuesday. In that sense, it was a setback, but I feel good today. Got sinus infection, working today. But trying to breathe. But other than that, I'm doing good. I mean, as far as I'm not, people have asked me, and I'm not in any pain or anything, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I'm not in any pain. I mean, biggest thing is just gaining strength back and getting the energy back to go, I'm still working, man. I mean, I'm still writing 5, 6, 7 stories a day. This is my second little live deal to do today. I did one for Dudley earlier. So, heck, man, I mean, hey, I'm still working, man. That's all. I'm just thankful to be alive and able and work. And like I said, see your face and see the faces of John and Dudley and Kevin and those guys. I mean, I didn't know, man, in the hospital, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I mean, you have no control. Once you get to that point, you don't have a whole lot of control over it. Just turn it over to God and let Him take control of it. And and I'm here, so I'm thankful. I really am. I mean that, and I'm thankful for everybody that reads our stuff, that watches this show, that reads Hogville, whether they read my stuff or not. People that advertise. I'm thankful for everybody, Ty. I mean, I'm in a thankful mood, man. I mean, I'm Santa Claus today. I'm handing out thankfulness, but I'm sincere with that, though. I really am.
Yeah, we had Dudley also he's out of it a little bit this week. I think we're going to get him back. I think we're going to do the post game with him. I'm not entirely sure. He acted like he was going to.
My understanding was, and I haven't updated it with Dudley, before the surgery, he was going to do the show, and then Kevin was going to fill in for me because I'll be in Dallas at the post game stuff, and I will be going down. I didn't go down, but if Dudley can't do it Saturday, I know things change after a surgery. If he can't do it, I will find a way to jump on here with you, along with Kevin, and I'll find a way to find 5 or 10 minutes, and jump.
Yeah,
I'll make it work. We'll make it work, man. We're gonna have a good show. Ty's a good show. Ty's a good show by himself. But I will. If Dudley can't do it, I will find a way to do it Saturday. But it'll all work out, man.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Don't want anybody pushing themselves over, though. Anyone who's not up for it, I get it, But I have done a lot of post-game shows on my own, so I could absolutely hold it down. I could hold down the fort, whatever happens. But it is always a pleasure to have you or Dudley or Kevin, whoever can hop on and do it, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. It's great. Yeah. It's great to have you guys on. So
that's what we've been doing pretty much, I think, about 5 or 10 minutes. Or at least I have. I don't know about those other guys, but that's about what I've been doing. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Arkansas A&M. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you really quick. We did cover the Bobby Petrino stuff last weekend, obviously, with the postgame show. Do you think there's any legitimacy at all? And I've had several people ask me this. Should Nebraska be looking at him for the job? And have you heard anything that's a legitimate possibility?
I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's a possibility. Look, I love Petrino, but he is not the guy that comes in and has success. He did that at Louisville at first, but since then he really hasn't been able to. His recruiting has caught up to him. He's a very good coach, and he would fix a lot of things at Nebraska. But I think they're going more of the route, maybe the Kansas coach, maybe now Matt Campbell at Iowa State's name comes up on every opening. And then I think the offensive coordinator at Alabama, who used to be the head coach at Penn State, was the head coach of the Houston Texans. I think that's going to be your three main candidates. Now, can it venture out? But Bobby's great just where he's at. I mean, he can get him 30, 40 transfers, division, Power 5 players, go in there and the way he coaches and do that. But Bobby has a hard time maintaining the staff, hiring a staff and stuff, and that would hurt him at Nebraska. There's some things that through the course of the year, and like I said, this is coming from somebody that loves Bobby Petrino. You and I talked the day after Kobe died. We talked for 30 or 40 minutes. And I'm not being a hypocrite. You asked me a question, I'm answering it honestly. I'm not going to BS my way through an answer. I don't think he's the right fit for Nebraska. Would he do a good job? Yeah, at least for a while he would. But it'd take a while to rebuild it, and then Bobby would make them more competitive than what they are. But I think there's better fits out there. I don't think he will be the next Nebraska coach.
There certainly seems to be a lot of smoke around it, but I don't think it's coming from anyone official. I think it's just people saw his performance last weekend against Arkansas, the reputation that he has at Missouri State, that he's rebuilt a broken program and turned them into playoff contenders at that level.
God, there's a little bit of difference when you have an Oklahoma State, then you have when you have an Oklahoma State, then you have FCS schools. When you have, when you have the schools that they play on their schedule, not the FCS. When you have that, or when you have Arkansas, and then you have a bunch of schools that you play on your level, there's a difference between prepared for one team. He had all preseason prepared for Oklahoma State. He caught Arkansas in the best possible. They had beaten Cincinnati. They had beaten South Carolina. They were looking ahead to A&M. They were looking ahead to Alabama. I don't buy for 1 minute they didn't overlook. I know Sam said they didn't. I don't buy that for 1 minute they didn't overlook Missouri State. You could maybe they didn't overlook them, but they weren't focused when they came out. That's semblance of Rocket fumbling at the one. KJ fumbling, those are guys that don't make those mistakes, Ty. They don't do that. They just don't normally do that. Now, you can be a quarterback and you get hit from the blind side and fumble anybody. That can happen to Tom Brady or anybody. But that's not what happened to KJ. I just don't think – and the penalties on the punt return, I don't think they were focused when they came out. Maybe they didn't overlook them. Maybe that's the wrong terminology, but they weren't focused. I'll maintain that till the day I die. I just don't think they were focused. And it was a perfect trap game scenario for Bobby. 2 games in, 2 games big, more than 2, but 2 big ones looming. Actually, a whole bunch of them looming, but 2 big ones looming here in the next 2 weeks. And I think it was a perfect scenario for Missouri State, just like it was against Oklahoma State. He had all preseason prepared for Gundy and them, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the season opener. I may be mistaken. If I am, I'm sorry. But I mean, either way, he had it set up pretty well for him there. But yeah, he's a great coach. Robbie is a great coach. I don't think he'll be at Nebraska. I just think there's some of it's fair, some of it's probably unfair. Some of the damage has been done there, but it's done, and I just don't think that'll happen. Nebraska can't. No matter who they hire, Nebraska can't miss on this hire. They've got to get a better hire than what they've been getting.
Yeah, it's been tough for Nebraska for a long time. They haven't really been relevant in a long time. Hog fans can empathize to a degree here. I mean, we did just get over Chad Morris. So,
well, Arkansas hadn't beaten A&M since Bobby Petrino was the head coach here. So, I mean, definitely Arkansas fans can realize what they're talking about, what they're going through. You know, Arkansas had, and that's why when I go on the SEC network and they tried to tell me Arkansas couldn't compete in the SEC, I said, I've got 14 years to tell me different. 10 years of Nutt, 4 years of Petrino. Were they great years? Maybe not, but they went to 11 bowl games in 14 years. They competed. They won. They went to the SEC championship. I mean, they was 11 years out of 14. They went to a lot of major bowls, not just the Outback. I mean, not just the Weed Eater Bowl or something. I'm talking about good bowl games. A lot of them were. And they went to a lot of them in 11 years and 11 or 14 years going to a bowl and competing. That told me Arkansas compete. They made some bad coaching hires. That's why they weren't competing. And they righted that ship with the hiring of Sam Pittman. I don't think Brett Bielema was a good hire either. I know everybody points to Chad. I'm not a Brett Bielema fan. I like Chad better than I do Brett. I just not a Brett Bielema fan. I think he was a terrible hire. It looked like a great hire when they made it. John L. Smith was a disaster when they did it. Brett, turned out I think was a terrible hire, and then Chad was even a worse hire. Now Brett's a better coach than Chad, but I don't care for Brett, and I don't care to say
Okay, so you're talking about like on a personal level. You liked.
Yeah, right. I mean, no, Brett's a better coach than Chad Morris.
Okay.
I mean,
we need to clear that up because I'm not gonna lie, we'd have some internet trolls like, "Oh, Otis said this."
No,
about Chad Morris.
It was a bad hire. I mean, was it a worse hire than Chad Morris? No, but it wasn't. I thought it was a home run hire when Jeff Long made it. I'm not going to. I mean, his record, but no. I mean, no, he's not a worse coach than Chad Morris. I mean, God, you can look at the records and indicate that. I mean, Chad's record spoke for itself. They didn't win a game in the SEC in 2 years. They went to Colorado State, got beat. They got stomped home by North Texas. I mean, San Jose State, one embarrassing loss after another. No, there was never a disaster hire like
just when you thought things couldn't get worse, they got worse. They just gradually got worse under Chad. But going back to Petrino and Nebraska really quick, I agree. I don't think that's a good fit at all. It just doesn't feel like it fits on paper, and I certainly don't think it fits into their culture there. It's just not a good hire for them. So, yeah, a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, smoke, but I don't. Now, we're not Nebraska insiders. We're not, but based on what reading I've done and looking around, I don't think there's any legitimacy to it.
I'll end it with this. On my portion of it, they could do a lot worse than our Bobby Petrino.
That is true.
You're asking me, do I think it will happen? No, but they could do a lot worse than our Bobby Petrino. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, there's a lot worse hires out there than Bobby Petrino, I can assure you. Baggage and all, there's worse hires out there. That guy can coach. I mean, that's one thing, Bobby. I don't think anybody, even his doubter, his haters, will argue that he can't coach. He can.
I was going to ask. You said you can't do any. You can't do. You could do worse than Petrino. What is Chad Morris doing these days?
Who knows? God knows. God knows. I don't. Hopefully, not coaching a team. I mean, I hate to say that because Chad was good to me, but God, he was awful coach. I mean, 2 years of covering that, Ty. Two games short of 2 years. I know Barry coached those last 2 games, but there was nothing Barry could do. The scenario was already laid. The foundation was laid for failure. And Sam Pittman came in here and cleaned that up so fast that it's still amazing. It's sad when 3-7 in the SEC, 3-7 season in COVID year looks good, and it looked very good because that was more. They had won 1 game in the SEC in 3 years. Last year, Brett, 2 years of Chad. They won one SEC game in 3 years, and Sam comes in here and wins 3 in 1 year. So I mean, he's just done an amazing job. I don't know how anybody, and that goes to show you Nebraska needs to take a page from maybe from the AD, you're a check. Maybe you don't have to hire a big name. A lot of these schools, they think you've got to hire a big name. You've got to go for one of these retreads. Your check goes out and hires Sam Pittman, and people laughed at him, made fun of the hire. They compared it to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Missouri, how much greater hires those were. Hey, I promise you, if Missouri came to coach to Yurachek right now, I said, let's trade coaches, he'd laugh in their face, So I don't think and Kiffin's done a great job at Ole Miss, but he's not what I think Sam is for Arkansas. And then Leach can coach. There's no doubt about that. But there again, I have questions about his laying a foundation and building on it. Whereas Sam, with his recruiting and his staff hiring and what he learned from Kirby, I think his program can continue to get better and better and better. There'll be some rocky times. There'll be some rocky times. There may be, with that secondary, there may be this season. But but he has everything in place that looks like it's going to be a future success for the Hogs in my book.
Yeah, they're off to obviously a really good start. Let's talk about let's move into what we've seen so far through 3 games, Otis, if we could. Clearly the secondary is the problem for this team, whether we want to talk about corners or safeties.
I think it's all secondary, man.
You think it's the whole secondary. So let me ask you, how much of it is missed tackles? How much of it is just maybe miscommunication? What's your takeaway from what's going on in the secondary, and how do you think they can fix it? I know that's a tough question.
I think Barry's going to have to work some magic. I don't think there is a fix-it-all solution that you can just Barry can punch fix all and it solves all the issues. I don't think it's there. Getting Slusher back will help. Losing Catalan for the season hurt, but that's water under the bridge. He's gone. I mean, it's sad. It's unfortunate. It's a bad deal because he worked his butt off to get back, but he's gone. There's nothing. You got to take Jalen out of the equation, but getting Miles Slusher back will help. But it's not a fix all deal. But I think part of it is the missed tackles, but part of it is just blown cover. I mean, just missed coverage. I don't know if they're. How do I say this without just being a jerk? I don't know if they've got. I don't know how good a cover guys they got, Ty. I mean, some of them lack speed, some of them lack cover skills, some of them lack the knack for being able to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, you got to keep McLaughlin, you've got to keep Slusher, you got to keep those 2 guys on the field and figure out what the rest of your secondary best combo is and try to get it to go in and try to keep them on the field, not hurt, and hope that works because there's no magical fix-all solution. I don't believe that. Now, if Barry can do it, he ought to be the assistant. He ought to be the Frank Broyles Award winner. But I don't think it's there this year. I don't think it's there. But they can improve. They can do all the things you talked about. They can tackle better. They can cover better. There's some, like on that 4th and inches from Missouri State, man, you had to know that he just got stuffed. They're outmanned big time by each person on the line. Missouri State is. You had to know they just got stuffed on 3rd and inches. You had to know there was a chance they're going to pass that football right there, Ty. You had to know it. And Arkansas had nobody back there. Simeon Blair is 15, 20 yards behind the guy after he catches it. It's over with. Fortunately, it came back and won, but you can't blow coverages like that. It's just been a combination of a little bit of everything. I didn't see the Cincinnati game, but I've seen enough. I've seen enough against South Carolina and Missouri State to know that they've just got some issues back there. And I don't know how much of it can be fixed. Some of it can be fixed. Maybe a Band-Aid can be put on some of it. There's ways of getting it better. I'm not a coach, and that's not my job to do it. But I know Barry is a very good, and he's a creative coach. And so I think Barry will find some solutions. Will it cure everything that ails them? No, but maybe they won't be last in college football in pass defense. You know, that's that you can't do that. It's a miracle they're 3-0 with that, and it's going to catch up. It's going to catch up to them. It doesn't have to necessarily be Alabama either. It could be this week, and I know Max Johnson to me is pretty average quarterback, but they can take an average quarterback and make him look great. I think there's a big key for me this weekend, and it includes that. And I'll talk about it when you ask me about it, but I think that's going to be one of the keys this weekend.
Well, go ahead and you've already started it. Go ahead and get into it. What's your key?
The key to me is running the ball at them like App State did, keeping not just A&M offense on the sideline, but keeping the Arkansas secondary on the sidelines. Got to run. App State tried to run at them. They had success. They keep the ball for 8 or 9 minutes. Miami tried to pass on them. We saw how that worked out. Look, A&M's got a lot of speed. They got a lot of talent. They're inexperienced, but you can run. You can run on that defense, and I think it's important for Arkansas to run it right down their throats as much as possible. Not, and I keep hearing all these national guys say that keeps the A&M offense on the sidelines. And it does, but it also keeps the Arkansas secondary on the sidelines. And I think that's equally huge, Ty. I think it's equally huge. Max Johnson can't kill you passing the football if he's not in the game, you know. And when they sit on the sidelines for 7, 8, 9 minutes, it makes them impatient, and they might try to force something and you can get an interception, you know. I just think that's going to be the key to this game, how well Arkansas can run the football, cut out the turnovers and the turnovers and the penalties. If Arkansas can run the football on A&M, cut out the penalties and turnovers, they're going to beat A&M this weekend, and they're going to beat them.
So you kind of hit the nail on the head about penalties. I was going to talk about that. Arkansas in the penalty category, it's pretty bad. We've got to take here. Johnny Cash, woo, pig suey says, whoever thinks Arkansas is losing to Texas A&M doesn't know football. I think that's an interesting take because it's not like Arkansas. We just sit here and talk to you about the secondary and how it's a big issue. But the question is, can A&M, can they expose that the way that these past three teams have? I don't think so. I've not been that impressed with A&M's offense.
I agree. And I think Arkansas's offensive line is so much better than App State's. I think their running back is better than App State's. I think their quarterback is better than App State. So therefore, I think Arkansas will only lose the game if they beat themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Which they've almost done.
I think if they do the three things I just talked about, run the football successfully and be patient. Don't necessarily have to do the hurry up, running up, hurry up. I mean, to eat that clock. Because like I said, to me, keeping that Arkansas secondary on the sidelines, Johnson can't hurt them if he's not in the game. And he's not the best quarterback they're going to face by any stretch of the imagination. I fully get that. But anyone doesn't think he's capable of hurting this Arkansas defense hasn't watched them play the last few weeks. And Arkansas, I think Arkansas is a better team than A&M, Ty. Mm-hmm. If they play their game, I think Arkansas is a better team. I think Arkansas will win. But to say A&M can't win this game, maybe I don't know anything about football. They can win this game.
Apparently you don't. If you think A&M is going to win this game, but I would argue you probably haven't watched these last three games because penalties, turnovers, secondary, blown coverage, missed tackles, special teams, penalty after penalty on special teams. Once again, under Coach Fountain,
they cleaned it up the second half Saturday night penalty wise. Not just Fountain, but the Arkansas team cleaned it up in the second half. One thing, there's a difference in saying A&M will win as opposed to saying A&M can win. I'm saying A&M can win. I am by no means saying A&M will win. The picks will come out tomorrow, and I've got A&M. I know you do. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I've got Arkansas picked to win. I know you do too tomorrow. And
spoiler alert,
saying A&M will win, but to say they can't win, I think you're mistaken.
He says, I seen Appalachian State beat Texas A&M in Texas. That's what he saw. So I get that. But we also saw them turn around, make a quarterback change, and then beat a ranked Miami football team. So it's just, I don't think it's black and white. I think anyone who picks A&M, I'm not going to fault them because, again, Arkansas does have some issues. But there is some positive here, Otis, and well, let me lead into the question like this. What has surprised you more? Arkansas leading the country in sacks or Arkansas being dead last in passing yards allowed?
I didn't think they'd be dead last. I never thought the secondary was going to be very good, Ty.
That's true.
But to answer your question, it surprised me more they're leading the country in sacks because I didn't see that coming. I mean, I knew Drew Sanders was awesome, but Dominic, I knew he was a very good player, but I didn't. I mean, I want to say he had. I wrote this. I want to say he had like 3.5 sacks at Georgia Tech. Landon Jackson was hurt at LSU last year, so there was just no indication. And I've always thought Zach Williams was capable of doing a lot more than he was. I thought they played Trey Williams maybe a little bit more than they should have ahead of him last year. Hudson and those guys. But I'm surprised more by Arkansas leading the country in sacks than I am by the secondary being dead last. I didn't think they'd be dead last. But then again, going into the season, we thought they had Catalon too, Ty.
It's true.
We thought they had Catalon. And if they did have Catalon and Slusher, and Catalon didn't get hurt the first game, who knows? I don't think they'd be dead last in the SEC. I mean, in the NCAA, not the SEC, but
Yeah.
if Catalan and Slusher doesn't get hurt the first game, they're probably not last in the country in pass defense. So the second, I just didn't see the sacks. They're getting performances from people that just it's amazing what they're doing. I tell you what, that must be good for Deke Adams. He comes in and his resume. He's got to look at that resume and show that to Sam and say, you know what, we're doing pretty good, Sam. And I know Drew is basically a linebacker, but I know a lot of the pass rushing stuff that's put in is from Deke, and he's doing a great job there. I mean, he's got Dominic playing better than he did at Tech. He's got Zach Williams playing better than he has played. Part of it is opportunity with Zach. Because look, I'm a big fan of Zach Williams, and I was in high school during recruiting. I thought he was a dang good player, but I just didn't think he's had the opportunity to be real successful at Arkansas. Whatever reason, and they've tried a lot of transfers, but I think part of his success is opportunity. Part of it is Adam. Part of it is getting bigger too. He was too. It's a shame talking about Chad Morrison. He had to play that kid at 204 pounds. Defensive end when he reported this as a freshman. That's just a crying shame that had to happen.
You talk about the surprises or just some of the guys that are performing or getting off to a good start. Jordan Dominic off to the best in his career, and of course, like you mentioned, he started off at Georgia Tech. Landon Jackson has 1.5 sacks, meaning he was in on one sack and he got a solo sack for the other, or he could have been in a combination of sack plays where he was one of two guys to get to the quarterback.
Right.
Actually, and that's something Dudley Dawson and I talked about that a little bit. That kind of, I don't know that I like the way they keep up with that number, but I understand why they do it. But then you have Jaden Johnson, who has a 1.5. Zach Williams, like you just mentioned, he's off to a career high, and then Drew Sanders. I don't know that the first 3 games at Alabama that he had 5 sacks at any point in his time as a starter there. 5 sacks for 28 yards.
He's incredible. He's incredible, Ty. And I will say this: they've gotten, Jaden Johnson is a kid that could really, John James got a great picture of him sacking the quarterback. I believe it was a South Carolina game. Man, that's a great picture. Jaden Johnson's just annihilating the quarterback down there at South Carolina. But I just think they're doing a great job rushing the passer.
They are.
They found some solutions there, and it's worked out. I just hope the secondary can shore it up. I think it's going to be Band-Aids. I don't think there's going to be a miracle cure. I don't think Oral Roberts is going to walk in and touch the secretary, and all of a sudden they're going to be great. I don't buy that. But I are some TV evangelist, but I do think there's some Band-Aids you can put on there that will really help them. And I think Barry Odom is a very good defensive coordinator. And if he can find, he'll figure it out the best it can be figured out. I'll say that, and that's just all I can say. I mean, he will figure out the best it can be and go from there. And that's about all you can expect at this point.
Right. Yeah. Someone mentioned in chat, this is Mike and them, who's also a member on Hogville.net too on the message boards. By the way, before Otis and I talk about what he just said here, make sure you guys go to Hogville.net. Free content, free articles written by Otis, Kirk, Dudley Dawson, Kevin McPherson. And, of course, if you're new here, subscribe. Hit the like button, too.
You bet.
The more you interact with the channel, the more likely you're going to get notifications pushed. It's weird how YouTube works. A lot of talk about algorithms and things like that. But liking the stream and commenting and all that stuff, it certainly helps get this content pushed to the top. When you're looking up Razorback content. Mike and them says,
I like that statement.
A&M allowing 1 sack every 8 dropbacks. Sanders in the D gonna have fun. I knew it was like 1 in every. The QB pressure is something like 1 in every 7, 1 in every 6. So that doesn't shock me that it's 1 in every 8 that they're getting sacked.
I like that because Arkansas's strengths are some of A&M's weaknesses. Run defense, weakness for A&M. Arkansas strength, running the ball. Arkansas rushing the quarterback, A&M weakness, Arkansas strength. See, and their quarterback, their passing game, even with Arkansas's weakness, hasn't really exposed teams like you think they would. They haven't been able to. So, especially if the quarterback's running for his life. And they can say what they want to about the kid from Longview that they took out as quarterback, but he was much more mobile than Johnson is.
Yes.
He was much more mobile. There's no arguing that. So I think Arkansas's strengths versus A&M's weaknesses are a lot stronger than A&M's strength. A&M's strength is not the passing game, but I think them going against Arkansas's biggest weakness. I think Arkansas got a big advantage. They rush the passer well and they run the football well, and both those things are A&M doesn't do well. And that if Arkansas plays into that, don't shoot themselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers, Ty, they could take this game by a couple of touchdowns or so. Who knows? Maybe more. I think they win by more than 2 touchdowns last year had KJ not gotten hurt in the middle of right on the first play of the third quarter, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
He went out of bounds on that play. I think he may have hit some equipment. His knee hit something over on the sideline, and he was out the rest. Well, he wasn't out the rest of the game. I'm wrong there. But he was out a lot of time, and Malik just didn't get him in the end zone. But I think with KJ, if he stays healthy the whole game, I think Arkansas's strengths really play well into A&M's weaknesses. I really do, man.
It feels like a mismatch across the board. And as often as I'm told I'm too negative about the Razorbacks, I've also been very positive about the line of scrimmage play. Like you kind of briefly mentioned just a minute ago, they're dominating on both sides of the ball in terms of stopping the run, getting to the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback, tackles for loss, and then on offense, they're Rocket Sanders and KJ are killing people. And there's a possibility we get Dominic Johnson back this week. We've been saying that for 3 weeks, or 2 weeks.
Well, here's another thing about the Arkansas offensive line. It's one thing to say you've got 4 starters back on the offensive line. You've got a redshirt senior starting too. It's one thing to say that. But then when you start looking, Stromberg has started for 4 years. Limmer and Latham are not new starters. Dalton Wagner, not a new starter. I mean, not just these are not 1-year starters, Ty. Yeah. These are guys that have been around for a while. So it's more than just 4 starters return. It's a lot more than that. And Luke Jones is a multi-talented kid. I mean, I loved him at Pulaski Academy. I thought he was the best offensive lineman in the state that year. He's really good. He went to Notre Dame. Didn't work out. I knew it wouldn't, but it didn't work out for him. He was always a Razorback at heart. I don't know what happened during that deal with the coaches and change maker. But anyway, he's doing well. And they've got Tykees Crawford and other kids ready to jump in. I'm going to tell you, future NFL star will be Andrew Chamberlain. He's got everything that the NFL, every team from the NFL to junior high is looking for what Andrew Chamberlain brings you. Long, talented, fast, quick, good footwork, long arm, talented left tackle. Every team from the NFL on down is looking for those type guys. Those can cover corners and stuff like that. And you can get rich doing that if you're great. And I think Chamberlain, I'm predicting he's going to be a great one.
Yeah. Speaking of getting rated high and all this, Bo Limmer on Pro Football Focus is rated. It was number 2. He dropped back today. I'm assuming PFF, I guess they did some more film. I don't know, but he was number 2. Now he's back to he's down to number 3 overall. That's of all guards in the country, Otis. He's ranked number 3 overall.
Well, Bo is super strong. He's talented. He's very good. He played in a great league down there in Texas. Great competition down in Lone Star State, like all those kids too. Bo's just a kid that Arkansas got, and I will hand Chad this. Coach Traylor's brother was his coach, I believe, at Tyler Lee, and that helped get him here. But Arkansas has done a great job since they got him here. Sam came in, took care of him, and as did Cody Candy and those guys. So that offensive line, I think it could be a mismatch against A&M's defensive line. I look at what App State did to that defensive line of A&M, and I look at what Arkansas's got. It could be a mismatch. And then I know Rocket's a better running back. KJ's a better quarterback than App State had. If Arkansas can just pound them, and another thing, Ty, I did mention that it is in my 5 keys to the game. When Arkansas gets in the red zone, they need 7, not 3 points most of the time.
Yeah.
They need to get 7. And I know you don't have to be from the Jethro Bodine School of Cypher to figure that out. 7 is better than 3, but 7 points and get them down there, that can deflate a team, because A&M's not an offensive machine. Maybe Arkansas will make them look like it this weekend, but they're not an offensive. They struggled on offense. Even they beat Miami. They struggled on offense doing it. Ty, you brought that out. You brought that up earlier, and it's a fact. They struggled big time on offense against A&M. So I'm sorry, against Miami, and they obviously struggled against App State. They couldn't even get the ball back from. And, I just don't – I think that Arkansas matches up real well with them. Maybe I think Arkansas' strengths play into A&M's weaknesses, and I just think Arkansas, if they don't beat themselves and shoot themselves in the foot with stupid penalties and turnovers, they've got to cut those penalties down, Ty. That's something they've got to do, and it's been an issue all 3 games. I looked even at Cincinnati game. I didn't watch it, but that's been an issue every game, and some of them are at the most – the most costly time.
Yeah.
Not that there's a great time to have a penalty, but some of those have just been at the worst possible time. And that's the first. I'm not going to lie to you. When Bryce Stevens ran that punt back, what was it, 85 yards the other night? When he ran that punt back for a touchdown, the first thing I did, I started checking the field for flags. And there was none. And so I knew then that Arkansas was going to be pretty good shape. But first thing I did, look for a darn flag, man. I mean, it was like, good night.
Well, earlier he had I don't remember what his return was.
2 of them.
But it was they were both called back, right? Weren't they both? I know one had a flag.
No,
was the
he
other
had
one?
2. He had 2 pretty good returns, and both of them was called back. I want to say for holding. The crowd was loud, and I couldn't hear it completely. But it sounded like they were called for holding penalties. And I don't know who they were on. I wouldn't call the kids out on here if I did know. But there were 2 holding penalties. There were 2 penalties on 2 pretty good punt returns. No touchdowns, but long. Very good field position if those punt returns stand. Instead, they didn't, and then Arkansas struggled. So, there were 2 penalties there.
They're tied for 93rd in the country in the amount of penalties so far on the year, it's like a 6-way tie, I think, or maybe a 5-way tie. But they've got 23 penalties on the year for 242 yards. That's 80 yards of penalty per game. When you look at yards per game in terms of penalties, they rank 118th, if I'm looking at this right. 118th in the country. Penalties, turnovers, secondary. It's like those are the things. Get these things under control, and who knows what Arkansas' ceiling is.
You get those 3 things under control, it's going to be hard to beat this Arkansas team. I'm not going to lie to you. If you can get those 3 things somewhat, and it surprises me about the penalties because Sam Pittman has a disciplined football team, runs a disciplined program. And usually when you do that, you don't have a lot of penalties. It's a lot of the programs that basically play with this outlaw mentality. They have a lot of penalties, but Arkansas doesn't do that. They're very disciplined under Sam and those assistants, and they're strict. And I'm just surprised by the amount of penalties they're getting. And I have people tell me those are not penalties. They're getting screwed. Look, man, they're not getting screwed on all those calls. A lot of them, I think, are bad calls. I didn't think the pass interference on Brenny was pass interference last week. They're getting some bad calls. But look, that happens. You can't sit here and tell me they're 118th in the country because the NCAA's got it out for them and they're calling penalties like that. Come on, there's some bad calls, and I wish there'd be more bad calls. And what I mean by that, I wish they'd do away with all these long replays. Even after those, they still get most of them wrong. Ty, do away with that. Human nature. There'll be some bad calls. Human nature is they work out against both teams. Let's speed the game up, man. I mean, that South Carolina game, that game went on forever because of those stupid reviews and stuff. And human error, there's going to be some errors in officiating, but they're not sticking it to Arkansas. They've missed some calls, I agree, but they're not. Most of those are legit penalties, and Arkansas is just committing way too many of them. And to say otherwise, you're bailing out those guys. I mean, you're making excuses, and don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you not to do it, but it's not legit. I mean, those are mostly legit penalties. There's been some bad. I had to face Landon Jackson when the guy had him by the face mask. That should have been holding on the offense against South Carolina. There's been some bad calls. Nobody's disputing that. But to sit here and act like that's all the penalties, they're not making those penalties. They're just getting ripped. That's crazy.
So we've talked a lot about the mismatches against A&M for Arkansas. It is important to note this isn't exactly a bad defense that Arkansas is about to face. You said it earlier. They've got speed, they've got talent, they've got strength. They're number 9 in the country in pass defense. Let me look these numbers over here really quick. They're number 9 in pass defense. And run defense, this is where that mismatch, you kind of look at it. They're 83rd in the country. They're giving up 154 yards a game, but they've only given up one opponent rushing touchdown. I think that's very important to point out. They've only given up one opponent rushing touchdown coming into this game.
That's why I said earlier it's 7 points instead of 3 in the red zone. I think. See, if App State gets seven instead of 3, a lot of times down there, that game's a blowout.
Yeah.
But they're good. And one reason I think they're as high as 9th in pass defense is because the run defense has been that bad.
Yeah.
But that's always a misleading figure to a degree. But no, you're not going to be if Arkansas goes down there with the same game plan that Miami had, pass the ball, they're probably not going to beat A&M. A&M's got speed. You're bailing them out when you do that. I thought Coach at Miami last week bailed them out when he tried to just beat them with the pass. Arkansas has got to run the ball. And here's where you can get past. You run it, you're chunking up big yardage, and then all of a sudden you drop back and you find Hazelwood, Landers, Keytron, Thompson deep for a touchdown. You catch them sleeping, and you can do that. If you're having success running the football, I think Arkansas can have some success with the deep passes. And it was good to see the deep passing game click last week. It really worked. I don't think it was because they were playing Missouri State. I think they just opened it up. I think they were saving some stuff for A&M. I really do. But once they got down 17-0, that was all out the window. You weren't saving anything for A&M or anyone else. You had to show what you had. And I think Arkansas will definitely – I remember the old days, before you were born, Ty, I guess, but OU used to run the wishbone. They'd run you down your throat, man. And then all of a sudden, Jack Mildren or Joe, one of those guys would drop back and find a receiver 20 yards behind the secondary. It looked a little bit like the Missouri State guy on the 4th and inches the other day. They'd all commit to the run, and then all of a sudden the quarterback for OU would drop back and throw it. Or Texas did that to Arkansas in the 1969 shootout. They were running, then they drop back and throw a deep touchdown pass. I guess there's some benefits to being 100 years old. You remember stuff like that. So, but anyway, I think that's how Arkansas's best passing offense will work, is use it as a weapon when they're expecting to run. But I think running the ball, eliminating penalties, eliminating turnovers, those are the 3 keys. If Arkansas does that, I'm not concerned about the passing game because they can pass against A&M even if they're expecting it. They've got receivers, KJ Jefferson. They've got receivers. Arkansas is not like a team that can't throw the football. I'm not trying to imply that, but I think to maximize everything Saturday, they've got to do what you and I have talked about, the 3 keys to the game. If that happens, if those 3 things happen, probably a lot of other things are going to click for them, including passing game, and then a lot of the sacks and everything else is going to click for them. If they do that, they're going to have success, and success probably means they're going to win the ball game. And I don't know how bad it'll be. I don't know, but I mean, I'll take a 1-point victory. But
so another stat, kind of important to point out too. They're only giving up 9 points a game, so they're 10th in the country. Again, I know people in chat are saying, well, they ain't played nobody. True. I think Miami is overrated. Appalachian State, they had no business losing Appalachian State. I agree with that. But it is important to note that their defense, they do pass the eye test. When you watch them play, they do have speed and power and strength and athleticism and talent. But I'm with you. I think Arkansas's pluses, the positives for Arkansas are just I think they're going to be too much for A&M. I really do.
I think their defense is very talented, but they're very inexperienced. They're young. And I know when you put 3-4 year starters against freshmen on the defensive line versus offensive line of Arkansas, I think the Arkansas linemen are going to win it. Arkansas is very well conditioned, and I think they're going to wear A&M down on the line. And like I said, my biggest fear is not Max Johnson passing for 400 yards. Maybe it should be. That's not my.
It could happen.
Well, he could do it. Yeah, against this secondary, he could do it. My biggest fear is just Arkansas beating themselves, shooting themselves. Whether it's beating themselves, shooting themselves in the foot, whatever terminology you want to use. Penalties, turnovers, fumbles, just stupid things like that. You're killing yourself on punt return. When Bryce Stevens gets out in the open field, he's a weapon, man. Don't hold him back with penalties. And most of those penalties against Bryce, or not against Bryce, but when Bryce, most of those have been behind the play. They didn't even help him. Those are just dumb plays, and you can't do that. It's going to beat you. It's going to get you beat. It may not be against A&M. May not be against A&M. It may not be against Alabama. Whoever it's going to be, but it may be 3 or 4 games. Those are going to come back and bite you in the rear. It's just going to happen. It happens to any team that does that, Ty.
Looking at A&M and Appalachian State, just some takeaways here. Appalachian State time of possession was 41 minutes 29 seconds to A&M's 18 minutes and 31 seconds.
That's a Brett Bielema stat there. Brett loved to control the ball like that. One thing, and I like that part of his game. The one thing I do worry about with Briles is that hurry up. You may want to take a little bit of step back and just. You want to run your offense. You don't want to let them dictate what you're doing, but you want to eat a little bit of that clock up. Because like we've said, if you've got that ball and you're moving, that means Arkansas secondary is on the sideline along with A&M's offense. And it can frustrate an offense to be on the sideline as much as A&M's was. Haynes King was frustrated when he was in there. And I'm one that doesn't buy Haynes King was their biggest issue. I think he hasn't been developed like he should. I saw that kid play at Longview, Ty, and I thought he was better than Chandler Morris. I really thought he was a stud quarterback down at Longview. I thought he was good. I know sometimes stud high school quarterbacks don't work out at the next level, but I bet you Haynes King probably ends up transferring somewhere, and I look for him to have one heck of a career somewhere. I still believe in that kid. I think he's good. It didn't work out for him this season. I don't think he fits. There's why another reason why I always tell quarterbacks, look for the fit. I never thought he was a fit for Jimbo's offense anyway. Max Johnson is a much better fit. Those type quarterbacks, he's not looking for the 4-3 guy that can get on that. Jeremiah Winston made Jimbo look better than Jimbo is developing quarterbacks. I think Jeremiah Winston made Jimbo Fisher much better than what he is.
Yeah. Glenn says talent and speed is the only thing A&M has an abundance of. We need to crush them as early as possible. I think that
is a great take, and I'll tell you why. The longer A&M stays in this game, they're young. They're not, they're young. You let that team stay around till the fourth quarter, you've got a game on your hands, Ty, Glenn. Yep. You've got a game on your hands. That's a great point, Glenn. And I think it's key to Arkansas to take them out, knock them out, establish control of the game early on. Don't let them hang around till the fourth quarter, because if it gets down to the fourth quarter game, who knows what's going to happen. And there's no reason for it to get down to that if Arkansas plays like they're capable of.
Yeah, if they play at the level that we expect them to play at, again, like we've already mentioned multiple times, but I'll say it again, reduce the penalties, reduce the turnovers, all the silly stuff. Important. Arkansas could there should, and I'm with you, there should be no reason why this is a close game in the bottom of the fourth quarter. There's no reason. I just think Arkansas is that much better than A&M. And listen, man, you and I sat here and said at the beginning of the year, A&M is vastly overrated. Now, is there a possibility we could be maybe eating some humble pie Saturday night? There's that possibility. Sure, Arkansas could find a way to lose this game. I still think A&M was vastly overrated coming into the season.
They were never the number 6 team in the country, Ty. And if they beat Arkansas, I don't really see it as humble pie, because I never said they couldn't beat Arkansas. I just said they were the most overrated team. I think Arkansas is a better football team than them, but the best football team doesn't always win the football game. So A&M could win, but I don't think they will. But no, they were never. And I will say that if they beat Arkansas by 30 points Saturday night, I'll say the same thing. A&M was never the number 6 team in the country. Never, ever. They've got too many issues, too much youth, too much inexperience, just too many weaknesses. They don't protect the quarterback. They have had trouble stopping the running game, especially the one team that was good enough to even try to run on them. And outstates no Arkansas as far as running the football. But yeah, they had a lot of success. Like you said, 40-something minutes, control the clock. I'm telling you, Arkansas should be, and they were the most over. They were never the number 6 team in the country. I'll say that no matter what.
Yeah. Look at Mike. He's giving us some. He's our stat guy. That's what he does. He's always given us some really good numbers. 19 of their last 90 plays have resulted in a quarterback sack, turnover, or a punt. 21%.
So that's 1 out of every 5. That's 1 out of every 5 plays. Basically, is what it amounts to. I mean, 21% is basically 1 out of 5. You know, I mean, you can't establish. That's one reason your offense can't establish any momentum when you're turning it over, getting sacked, penalty, or having to force. You know, no wonder they're punting football because you're shooting themselves in the foot. If that continues, Arkansas will have a lot of success Saturday night in Jerry's world.
I have no doubt that, again, it would not shock me. Again, just for the people that tell us that we're going to have to eat some humble pie, it wouldn't shock me if Arkansas found a way to lose this game. And I'm definitely, neither Otis or I are saying that is impossible. But we feel like going into this game that Arkansas should be the overwhelming favorites. It's not a surprise to me also that the FPI, ESPN, has A&M favorite at like 55%. But as some of my audience will tell you from Tuss Talk with Ty, the FPI, well, it's just garbage.
Yeah,
the football power index.
Yeah, A&M, ESPN seems to I don't know. I'm not a big ESPN fan, so I'll leave it at that. I've already ran my mouth about bread on here, which I probably shouldn't have. But I mean, honest, I will never apologize for being honest on here, though, or anywhere else for that. I will not apologize for being honest. I don't like somebody I don't like, and I have a reason. It's nothing petty. I have a reason, and he knows the reason, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And so, you know, I mean, to treat someone like dirt who works his butt off is not cool, and that's what happened. I will never apologize for being honest. I've lost friends because I've said that about Brett. People who love him have unfriended me, never spoke to me again. I can live with that. If me being honest ends a friendship, is probably a weak one to begin with. So be it.
Yeah. So having said all that, of course you pick. You're going with Arkansas in this one. I will say, I've been back and forth on like a final score. Like a part of me, because I do believe it's going to be close for a little bit. I do. I think A&M, just simply because of all the things that we mentioned a little bit ago. I'm not going to go over them all again. Yeah. They will stick around, I think. But I think as the game gradually goes on, it's definitely going to, teeter in Arkansas's favor, I feel like. I will give my official score tomorrow on Tuss Talk with Ty at some point. That show will probably be later in the day. I think Kevin McPherson and I are going to do a live tomorrow at 11. I don't know. I thought I knew the length on that show. Now I don't know the length on how long that show will be, but we're going to try and get together tomorrow, Kevin and I, and we'll get you guys caught up on basketball.
Let me add one quick thing. I think one positive that we haven't mentioned on here so far, or I haven't anyway, is Arkansas has owned the fourth quarter of the last 2 weeks, Ty. They have owned the fourth quarter of the last 2 weeks, and I think that's huge. They have they outscored Missouri State, I want to say 21. They've outscored South Carolina and Missouri State big time in the fourth quarter. So I do think Arkansas can wear some teams down. It scares me to think A&M is still going to be around the fourth quarter, but Arkansas has owned the fourth quarter of the last 2 games, maybe the last 3. I can't comment on Cincinnati since I didn't see it.
They scored 23 in the fourth quarter against South Carolina.
In 21, I believe Missouri State. Is that right?
I think that's right. My computer, it's just being really slow, but it was 23. And yeah, I think it was 21 against Cincinnati. No, it was 7. Wait a minute. Hold on. I mean Missouri State, so I'm thinking of. My bad. I was thinking Cincinnati, so I clicked on Cincinnati. But yeah, you're right. It was 21 points in the fourth quarter against Missouri State.
So 44 points the last 2 weeks in the fourth quarter. They took control of the game. That tells you Arkansas is well conditioned and they're strong. And that's where the offensive line imposes its will later in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It should be a good game regardless. But then, yeah, I think the rest will take care of itself. Otis, I do appreciate you, man, for hopping on. It's good to have you back, man, for a full hour. That was great.
It's good to be back. Just trying to get through it all each day at a time, man. But I appreciate everybody on here. And like I said, if I offended anyone with my comment about Brett, I'm sorry, but that's just my honest opinion. And I have to be honest. I'm not going to be. I've done this too long to BS my way through answers, and I don't do that. So y'all have a great day, great weekend. Safe travels to Dallas, please, everybody.
Yeah, everyone. If you're traveling, be careful and make sure you're here for the post-game show on Hogville.net, YouTube, and of course, go to hogville.net for the latest and greatest from the greatest in Arkansas Razorback athletic coverage. Otis, Kirk, Dudley Dawson, and Kevin McPherson. All right, we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. And Otis, I'll see you Saturday evening, sir.
Thank you, man.
Oh, he bounced. Hang on. Whoop. I don't know if he meant to do that or not. I do appreciate you guys. This hair, I've been messing with this all the whole dadgum show. I've got to get a haircut. I got to get it. I got to get my locks, the luscious brown locks, chopped off because it's driving me crazy. I've been putting the hat on. Someone asked about the LA love. Yeah, he's a Lakers fan. I'm a Ram fan, but I'm from a different era. I became a Ram fan when they joined St. Louis, when they went to St. Louis in 94, 95. And then when they moved back to LA, I struggled. Not going to lie. I struggled, but I stuck it out. Before they went on their Super Bowl runs, I stuck it out with the organization. I don't regret it, obviously. Although this year, I don't know what to think. All right. Get a fade. I don't know about all that. I just need to get the top. I just need to get that chopped off right there. Just too much going on. Too much. See that? And I got the alfalfa thing. God, it's driving me nuts. All right. Yeah. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have Kevin McPherson on for a little bit. And then the post game on Saturday. Make sure you guys have subscribed, like the video, and all that fun stuff. We will have Tuss Talk with Ty will be tomorrow, probably afternoon. And maybe in the evening. I'm not entirely sure, but we will have that show with my official pick and some other stuff. So, all right. I'll see you guys then.